I mean, it's morning, right? Morning at 8. Okay, all right. So I can see the bright sunlight behind you. That's very good. All right. So yeah, so before I guess Victor is coming, right? He should be coming.
He's online in Slack, so he'll probably
I
be joining
hello?
soon. Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, okay. So yesterday, I didn't finish on, I guess what I was trying to say is this is something I also just learned recently from a strategic coach that,
Yes.
when we're faced with some kind of difficult challenge, there is a 4-letter approach to sort of deal. It's first is V, okay? V stands for vision, and O is obstacle. Okay, so when you have a vision, then you almost certainly you will face some obstacle. But then it's the next thing you can do is try to transform that. So the next is the T, and then A is action. Okay, so I guess basically that's kind of a way to think that obstacle on the other hand, it could be opportunity for exploring new ways to approach things, right? And that could potentially transform the situation. So this is, I guess, what I've been thinking. So
Hi, Shinyan. Hello, Professor Herman. Good morning.
Hello.
hello.
How
All
are you?
right,
Sorry,
good.
I was late. I had to
Okay,
use the bathroom quickly.
okay, all right. So yeah, Victor, so you'd like to update us with the current
Um,
update?
yes. Okay. Let me just share my screen. Let me share my screen.
All right, sure. Thanks.
Um, share. Alright. Can you see this screen?
Uh-huh. Yes.
Sorry, I'm just So I was trying to sort of just put a little So after having like a nightmare and tried and failed and tried and failed. So I'm
Okay.
trying. I'm sort of. I tried. I wanted to maybe try to show you the approach, or maybe something you talked about yesterday, where you were
Right.
like, just queuing the messages, like like in a sort of array format, where
Right.
you have a simulator and then the connector is just queuing and sending. Um, so if you notice, yes, we're simulating, right? We have the node. You're sending the publish, or well, let's just say send, and matcher 2 is also, but you can ignore N2 for now. And the process is it goes in here. This is not necessarily very important because I just changed this to ID, to the fake network. So I'm sending the ID, the port, or in that it can be ID, it can be what you destinate send the IP, but
Okay.
this is just for testing. And then we have destination port, and then there's a payload. So in the network connection, what if we were to go that route, there's a sense of, you know there's a connector, right? We've set up the connector, we've set up the destination and the where it's coming from and where it's going, right? So in the bind setup, the idea was that once you receive everything, then sort of queue, or should I say create like a bit of an array, and sort of send that to the matcher. Now, this works, or at least in theory, this should work. The challenge, let me see, sorry. Yeah. Um, the challenge now is, um, how do you create multiple versions of M1? Well, not necessarily
Okay.
multiple versions. I don't know if you get it. It's almost like, yes, we've instantiated this thing called M1, but what if I want to send M1 to M2? You
Right.
know, in this case, because this is just instance one, and if I want to update this M1, in theory, maybe we can sort of run away with the append function,
Okay.
where you're just appending to M1.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of, okay, say M1 does not have what I'm looking for, and I want to forward to M2. Obviously, there will be like a function to handle that in the matcher example, or should I say in M1. But if I wanted basically M1, I just want to create this instance, this one. What do you call, for if you look at here, I basically said if M is node 1, so we defined node 1 already in the simulator. And so the idea is, if for example, if I say there's 5 nodes that want to connect to M1, for example,
Okay.
right? So it there's a sort of this worry that, oh, okay, sorry, as I'm speaking about it, I'm actually getting ideas, because if it's in a dictionary, then
Okay.
basically,
It is a dictionary. Yes.
yeah.
Dictionary is a lookup table. Remember that.
Yes.
So you
okay.
can use a key, right? You can use a key to index and to retrieve an associated object, or actually any associated value, right? With that key.
Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, 4. Sorry. And then okay, so they have this 4 nodes now to connect to this 1M, right? They want to connect. So it's almost like we're first indexing the dictionary, and then okay. Makes sense.
Okay. All right.
Makes perfect
As
sense.
long, I guess to answer your question, as long as you have the dictionary globally accessible, right?
Yes, it is
Okay. Yeah.
accessible.
Well, meaning that the different nodes in the simulator can all access the same dictionary. As
Yes.
long as you can do that, then you can look up the associated queue or array for any destination node, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess the better approach to fixing this bind is maybe to have some sort of generator for matches here, where
Well, this is right now. This function exists within the connector IO. I mean, are these
yes,
within the connector IO, right?
yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay. So what exactly do you suppose the bind is doing? I mean, what is in your mind? What should bind do?
basically, when I'm okay, from what I understand from the networking protocol, binding is simply connecting, doing the actual I don't want to use the word established connection, but it's almost
Okay.
like it's like
Connecting.
connecting, yeah, like cleaving onto
Okay.
the
Okay,
node
I
and
see. All right.
expecting it,
So
a result.
listen for you is to basically waiting to accept
Waiting.
connection, right?
Exactly.
Okay, and binding is kind of the opposite of listen, which is to
Yes.
initiate a
Yes.
communication channel. Okay.
100%.
Well, in our case, actually, well, I think for the simulated network layer, the bind is actually not necessarily needed unless you are thinking about initiating the queue. Okay.
Okay.
That was what I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
You could use bind to basically create and initiate your queue.
If it doesn't
If you-
exist, right? If it doesn't
if it
exist.
doesn't exist.
If it
Yeah.
exists, just skip it. Just done. Then you're done.
Okay. Okay.
And then you can use connect to basically
okay.
make a connection from your node to a different node. And then you can use send to actually send a message if there is already a connection. I mean, that's basically the TCP way of doing things, where you have where it's connection orientated
Right.
that you have.
But I think in this case, bind works. I think conceptually it's the connect, right? It's the same as the connect. Or are they different in Herman's mind?
No, they're not. No. So I was thinking of binding as the way of checking whether you have. I mean, because binding is typically used on in a real setup. If you say, "Oh, I want I want my operating system to associate this IP and socket with a specific network interface hardware. That's what you typically use bind for. But
Oh,
you
okay.
can use it for creating the queues.
Okay. Okay. Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So it's almost like, okay. Okay. I see what you mean. And then the sorry, I'm trying to um. Okay. Uh, does the queuing not happen at the dictionary, where as the as the nodes are sort of being generated?
So okay,
Or you,
so remember the dictionary is you can think about that. It's on the global type of variable, so that anyone can basically use a node ID and get its the queue, the receiving queue. Sorry. But this what you have over here is somehow a node needs to say, I exist. This is my node ID.
oh, okay.
Please create a receiving queue for me.
Okay.
So you can think about that.
Okay.
That
Okay.
happens on
Okay.
the
Okay.
in the node.
Okay. So it's almost like where it's instantiate. Okay. Let's receive. Okay, sorry, I'm.
Okay, no need to be sorry. This is learning.
Yes.
This is you're just trying to get, I guess, a better understanding of the whole process, right?
Yes. So it's almost like then in this context, which again it looks too simple to be true, but um,
It
depending
is
on the
simple.
request,
Yeah.
it's depending on the request received, that's where the matcher sort of this can be a bit of an argument where we are saying for every node or for every match or for every different destination. So if you created 10 destinations, then instantiate 10 objects of the matcher example or the receiver example, and basically perform the same process, which is bind and queue basically. I don't know
Yes.
if that.
And then the way you can think about it is your fake network basically internally has a dictionary, which is a way of doing a lookup to get to the node ID. You know, use the node ID as a key or an index to get the right queue. So that
Yes.
when you want to send a message to that node, you say, here is the queue. So I can
Yes, the
just take
queue.
the message and put it on the receive queue.
Oh,
And
okay.
then because the node itself knows what its receive queue is, when it is its turn to process its data, it can just see, oh, I've got messages in my queue, so now I can go and process it.
Okay. No, it really looks simple. We did discuss that we don't necessarily need the advanced queuing. What do you call something like RabbitMQ? Not yet, right?
Basically, you can do the same function with any number of tools you like. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess the important thing to remember and to know is that once you know the principle, once you know the underlying mechanics and you know how it works, you can really use any kind of queue in place, right? I mean, it's then a choice, a matter of some specific scenario use case details. But I think at this, I mean at this stage for you, the important thing is to understand the underlying principles. Okay, so if that can be achieved with just an array, or a bunch of arrays, then just do it with a bunch of arrays. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Once you find that inadequate, then you migrate to something more advanced. Okay, let's say you are running,
Okay.
10,000 nodes, right? And your
Okay.
simple array might start to show performance issues. Then, only then
Okay.
Yep.
All right. That's perfect. I think this is gonna be easy. It's gonna take like 5 minutes to
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
I
quick
mean,
question.
it's the concepts. It's the concepts that matters. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward now. Um,
Okay. So
anyways,
question. Yeah.
I was looking at uh the MMSS deadlines, and if I'm not mistaken, shit, sorry, MMSS. Let me see if I can. Uh, sorry. What am I doing? Conference site. Sorry, I wanted to confirm which track because I think I have like 3 or 4 weeks left.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I'm not sure if this is accurate. Is it this one or the doctoral symposium?
Can you show the screen? Right now, your screen is still
Can
at
you
the
see?
editor.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's still the editor.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's
Yes. So I was thinking you should go for the doctoral symposium.
oh, okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. No, that's fine. Um, I'm trying to sort of see. Is there like a description for the doctoral? Because I'm trying to make this like a deadline in my head. In
Okay.
terms,
Yeah.
okay, but it's fine.
So if you look under calls at the top, you'll see there's a doctoral symposium tab.
Symposium, yeah.
And that gives you a description of.
Okay. 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 I'll look into this.
Okay.
I spoke to Anizio with regards to joining us in the mornings.
Okay.
I think his major challenge is usually around the time where we meet. It's usually like in a, what do you call it, in a cab or in a bus to work.
I see.
Okay.
All right.
So he's trying to
So,
see,
all right.
how we can.
So
Can
I think there's another way. I've thought of another way that could work. Okay.
okay.
Which is if he's willing to take the time, to sort of just I guess to get involved.
Yeah.
I mean, all our discussions are recorded. Okay, and it's on
Oh, okay.
YouTube. Okay, and my assistants will make sure that this is put on to on a daily basis. Usually, it's on the same day. So
Okay.
I think what you can do is share this, the recording
Recording.
YouTube list with him, and
Okay.
also if he's watching a recording, there's the added benefit of fast forwarding, to
Yeah.
specific
Oh, yeah.
parts, or to listen to it at 1.5, 1.25, or 1.5 speed. If it's
Okay.
I mean, that's what I usually do with some of the audio books. Okay,
But
so I guess the point is, although we have a half an hour sync, he may not need to spend all that time.
yeah.
Okay, again,
Okay.
it's the 20/80 principle, right? Probably 20% of the content is of most relevance to him. So this way he can caught up, with our updates and what we're discussing about, so he can also get more better informed, okay,
Yeah.
about the current progress and the issues that's involved, okay.
Yeah.
And I think specifically, I'd like to ask if he can help is to sort of identify like what's the area that will best help you in terms of implementation from his perspective.
From his. Okay.
You see, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because I guess this is another thing I think we can all think about, which is I think we are, I mean, Herman and I, we have discussed about this, and I think correct me if I'm wrong, okay, but I think the consensus is sort of we should be building up a team to
Okay.
work on this, okay.
Yes.
I mean, it's not just you alone, okay, but potentially we
Okay.
could get more people to either help in the implementation or in some aspects of the work. Okay, so in a way, it's kind of like a collective teamwork. Okay,
Okay.
and in some sense, you should probably be specializing and handling what is most I guess the term is most relevant to a
Okay.
PhD research. You see,
Mm, I
like
see.
I understand you are now caught up in some of the implementation issues, but it doesn't mean that you're a bad researcher. You see, I mean,
Yeah.
you may not
Gotcha.
be as experienced as in Ezio on the implementation, on the coding aspect, but that doesn't say anything about you not being able to become a good researcher, right?
Yeah.
Right? You see, I mean,
I
it's different. It's a bit
I
different,
hope
right?
so.
Right. And I think well, from my perspective, the important thing for you to focus on is how can you become an independent, self-sufficient and capable researcher,
Mm,
right, at the
true.
end of this
Yes.
whole process, right?
Yes.
Meaning that you are able to, I guess, to identify the problems, okay, and to clearly articulate the problem, to define the
Yes.
problem, right? And then
Yes.
find some potential solutions, potentially with your design or with discussions with other people. A lot of times, good research are not the result of a single brain, but actually, multiple brains and discussing with multiple people and potentially from different fields.
Okay.
That's sometimes when good ideas come from. And you should be, I guess, a good problem solver in that sense, right?
Okay.
And come up with some design that can solve the problem that's been defined, and then show evidence that the solution is working, right? I guess what I'm trying to say is that is the process and the scale you need to get hold on and master.
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
and not necessarily, although this will definitely has something to do with programming and coding and debugging and all that, but that's kind of like to part of helping you to achieve, you know, defining and solving a problem, right?
Mm, true. True. Yes. Yes. I see what you
Okay,
mean.
okay. So do not hesitate and to seek help or to build teams or find good teammates who may
Okay.
be able to contribute and complement you in aspects you're less experienced about. Yeah.
Okay. I will do that. I will do
Okay.
that.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
I guess that's the main thing I, I want to feedback.
All right. Um. So just to confirm from Professor Herman, does Alicia usually come to the lab?
No, she's working at ESCOM at the moment. So she's yeah, she was supposed to work full time, but then her bursary agreement with ESCOM, so she had to go and work for them. So she works after hours, and at the moment she doesn't actually sit in the lab because of COVID regulations.
Oh,
But she
okay.
should be available on Slack if you want to chat with her.
Slack. Okay. I'll reach out to her on Slack then. Because I think our work might sort of interject one another or interlink to a certain
Okay.
extent. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
So did you
okay.
have it? Did you have a chance to put this code on some kind of a shared repository?
No, not yet. The reason why is I want to clean it up before I put it on. There's a lot of junk in it in terms of.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
Victory. This is
yeah.
something I also like to share. Just put it on.
Okay.
It's a REPL. REPL means you can commit anytime.
Okay.
Well, the analogy is something I just heard recently. It's kind of like you are calling some house cleaner to your house, but you say no, I need to clean the house first. Make sure it's clean before the house cleaner comes, right? Because you don't want a messy house, but but that's
I
exactly
see.
why you need a house cleaner, right?
Okay. I see.
Okay.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So don't be embarrassed about that.
All right.
Just put it on the code.
Okay. So
So we might
I'm
be
gonna
all
create.
have a yeah, people can have a chance to look at it and maybe feedback more directly, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna write I'm gonna sort of put two projects. One with this, just the testy connect, from node 1 to node 2 connection, and then another one with the actual project itself, which is the
Yeah, that's fine.
actual
That's
pulse
good.
up, and then I'll share a link on Slack.
Cool. Awesome.
Okay,
Fine.
okay, good. Yes, so Herman, what do you think? I just saw the doctoral symposium is deadline is July 2nd, right? I think
Yes.
so. That's a month and a half about.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's short.
Okay. All right.
It looks long, but it's quite short.
Well,
'Cause
yeah,
it's
depend on how you
finished
use the time.
the time, yeah.
So what do you think Victory should probably produce to submit? I mean, what are some of the things you think that should be there? Yeah, I'm asking
Yeah.
Herman. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So,
Yeah.
so I think it would be great if we have a spatial pub sub, working implementation of that, where we can basically demonstrate that the spatial pub sub is basically, we can use it as a location-based pub sub mechanism. And you're not going to be able to have real measurements there, but I think if you can have the, even if it's just a basic spatial pub sub implementation there, which you have some simulated nodes, which you can show that yes, the messages are being routed correctly, then I think that could be interesting, or that could be useful. Yeah.
All right.
But-
Okay. I see. Okay. Let's continue.
I'm not sure if there'll be time to do like a comparison to normal pub sub or anything
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
but-
I see. All right.
Okay.
So yeah, thanks, Herman. This is my feedback, my 2 cents. Okay. I think in addition to what Herman just mentioned, I mean, because we have to think about this is a doctoral thesis, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the question I was thinking is that what is kind of a doctoral level work, right? That could be interesting and that could get people's attention, and also importantly, let them understand at least what the problem is, what we're trying to achieve, right? So I think there's a couple of angles. Okay, one is that to make an analogy, a clear analogy between existing traditional channel-based pub sub and spatial pub sub. Okay, sort of analogy and comparison.
Okay.
Okay, so basically, we want to sort of tell people and educate people that actually pub sub can be channel-based or spatial-based. There are 2 types of pub sub. Okay, and most people are familiar with the channel-based pub sub. They are less familiar with the spatial pub sub. However, they have probably already seen applications of spatial pub sub one way or another, right? In LBS applications, in Google Maps, in games, in wireless sensor networks. They probably already seen some of that, although they may not have realized these are all instances that can be characterized or generalized by a spatial pub sub.
Okay.
Okay,
Nice.
right. Do you see? I think sort of like educating and extending people's understanding. I think that is one thing. Okay. And the interesting part, or the more research-oriented part, is then the question is to ask is, we know that traditional channel-based pub sub there are very large such systems being built. Like Twitter is example, right? Twitter is a very large, and all these chat rooms, right? Facebook, I mean, all these things message board, these are all, or Slack channels, these are all pub sub systems that have potentially, that can scale up, and some kind of decentralization or partitioning techniques is usually used, right?
Yes.
And there's like a ton of work on this, right? Because it's very established for sure.
Yeah.
However, how can we build scalable, cost-effective spatial PubSub systems?
Yeah.
That is the potentially still unsolved question, or there may not have been a good solutions in practical systems yet, right? There are industry systems like Uber, Google Map,
Yes.
but potentially they are proprietary and we don't know how they work underneath, right? And they may be only suitable for specific PubSub, spatial PubSub scenarios, not generic spatial PubSub,
Okay.
right?
And might be.
So
might-
the question becomes, how can we build that decentral in a decentral way, right?
Okay. Okay.
What do you think? Yeah. So, does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes. It does.
And
It does make sense. Yeah.
okay, Herman. Yeah. So, any quick feedback from Herman?
Yeah, so yeah, I like that. I like the idea of, first saying spatial PubSub is just an extension of normal channel-based PubSub, and then basically, saying, okay, but let's talk about how do we actually scale up so
Exactly.
the research question is
Right.
basically scaling up spatial PubSub.
Exactly. Exactly. And you don't have to solve the problem yet.
Okay.
I mean, I think for
That's
the
the question.
PhD symposium, yes, exactly. Asking the question is more important. And also asking a good question and make sure other people understand your question and see the relevance of it. I think that's the point of your, the symposium submission. Okay.
All right.
Basically, I think presenting a really good and well-defined problem, and clear problem, okay, and show that we are working a bit on its solution. I think that's okay. Yeah.
All right. That's fine. All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I think question as well with the just to confirm that this Friday is for
Yes, the mastermind. I'd like to confirm as well. So 8:30. Would that be all right for Herman as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do that.
Okay. All right. Okay. So for tomorrow, I think just make the pubs the make the message queue work. Okay. We like to see
Yeah.
it working. Okay.
No, this would work. I think
Okay.
I mean,
quick,
when I
right?
think about it, it's too easy. Yeah, it's like I said, it's one of those. It sounds too easy.
Right.
and,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might need to debug a bit, but I think if you
No,
get the
like-
basic idea right,
But
that
the
should
flow,
be good.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
flow in terms of dictionary to
Mm-hmm.
queuing.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's sync and chat tomorrow. Okay.
All right.
Same time.
Thanks
All right.
so much.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
Thanks. All right. So thanks, Armin. And
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye. Yeah.
Bye.